Welcome to the Toke&Trans. What do I say? Welcome to the Toke&Trans podcast, where we talk life, love, and getting high. Grab a J and join us. We do not condone the consumption of illicit activities with anyone under the age of 21.
Happy Easter Sunday, everyone.
Oh my God, Easter.
It is totally Sunday when you're listening to this, but it's Thursday when we're recording. So whatever day it is when you're listening, we're happy you're here. And yeah, you're going to be talking with me and Beau today. How are you feeling, Beau?
You know, welcome to the Bone Zone.
Stop. The Bone Zone.
I was...
How in the fuck is it over there in that zone?
Because I'm bone.
I'm feeling
the Bone Zone.
I got it.
Got
it. I received it, got it, pocketed it. I'm going to keep that. I love that.
Cool. So we're going to talk about something that you did recently, Aaron.
Yes. Yeah. So obviously, if you're on social media at all right now, there's a lot of intense things on there. There's a lot of intense subjects, a lot of states on Front Street. One of those being the states that I just happen to live in. Tennessee is where I live, and it's not looking good on social.
Tennessee.
Yes, it's not looking good. Tennessee is looking pretty bad right now. They've signed in some laws that are vague, very vague. I read them.
It's fucking vague. What is it? Says something about publicly impersonating
a male or a female. Yeah, so it's illegal for you to be like in public as a impersonator as a male or female. So I don't know what that process. I mean, it's just so subjective that it has nothing to do with, drag shows whatsoever in this section of it. Actually, the whole bill doesn't even say the word drag if you look at it. So it's a little bit interesting that it's more than just drag shows in front of children. It's more than, what they're making out to be in the way that they're like construing it. And there was actually on the 31st, there was a protest kind of nationwide that pretty much each state had a couple, or at least one or couple locations for, attending the protest and kind of just saying that, we need to prioritize our trans people and their rights. We decided to go and attend this event that I was invited to on Facebook. It was a drag show and story time kind of situation with a lot of big people in the area, a lot of big, I think there was a presidential candidate there. There was a lot of, big people that were showing up to support them. And so me and my wife were like, absolutely, we're going to go. We went and we had to drive quite a little ways. So together we were thinking, on the way to the event, like, stay close to me, obviously. Like, there's just things that you have to consider when going to one of these events when you live in Tennessee, and especially in a conservative area. And
Absolutely.
it's very tricky. It's very tricky. So like our pride, we had our first pride a couple of years ago. So we've only had like 3 prides in like the history of the area. So the LGBT.
Are you for real?
Yes, absolutely. I went to the first pride 2 years ago.
2 years ago was the first pride in Tennessee?
Well, in our area, not in Tennessee.
Oh,
no.
Okay, I see.
Our area. Yeah. So
gotcha.
our area and the surrounding areas, like Nashville's like 4 hours from here. It's a long ways. So it's not in the area we live. It's not very LGBT friendly at all. We're very outnumbered here.
I see.
So we have to keep these things in consideration when going to like pride events and other kinds of like pride related events that, protesters might be there, people might be there that object. Other prides that we went to, there was a small section for protesters to be able to stand that was, gated off or whatever. So we were expecting something similar of this sort. And we got out of the car. From where we got out of the car and walked to the entrance was kind of a longer walk. And you had to walk past the protesters to get to the door where the security was, and it really wasn't.
Ooh.
And it really wasn't far enough away from this protesters to make people comfortable. So when me and my wife are walking in together, and we're holding hands, and she's wearing her trans or protect trans kids shirt, and I'm wearing my Toke&Trans shirt, so we're just like walking together, like this is what we do, like we're standing up for it, this is what we believe in. And the protesters were there the first time we walked in. There's a good number of them, probably about 10 to 13. I'd say about 10 protesters. They had signs and all these, but I didn't look at them. I didn't even acknowledge them. I was just holding her hand and walking past them like, how about that? Like, we actually do live here too. Like, we know you live here, but how about this? Like, we live here too. So we got to the gate, and they did good with security. There's probably 4 cops out front, and they had like the metal detector things that we walked through. And Kayla has her like purse, which is like a really tiny purse, like almost a fanny pack type of thing. And
like a clutch.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes.
A clutch. It's multiple. You can wear it in different ways.
Yes.
Anyway, yes. She crossbody today. She was.
We love it.
Yes, she was. They said this is not something you can bring inside, unfortunately. So we'll need you to put that back in your car. And so we're like, okay, so we have to walk back to the car. And we're like, it's fine, whatever. We'll just ignore them. And I actually was going to get my phone out to take a picture. And I looked over to see if that's something that I was like trying to process all of this at the same time. And I looked over at the protesters for the first time. And there was this sign. This one person was holding this giant sign. And it said, stop molesting our stop mutilating our children with quote unquote gender affirming surgeries, our boys and girls with gender affirming surgeries. And I don't know, like, you see these things on your phone, and you see these things pop up like on news articles or even on TV where these things are happening, and you're like, man, that's a shitty sign. Like, what a shitty person with a shitty sign. But in this situation, like when we were walking back, this guy was holding this sign, and he was just like looking dead into people's eyes, just standing there holding this. And I don't know why it just connected that I was in person with this person, like with them so far from me, and thinking how disconnected we both are. Like, you really are one of those people that actually showed up that comment on hateful things. And I don't know why, but it just punched me in the throat instantly. And I remember like trying to cough it out, like being like, all right, we're good. Let's go put your bag in the car. We're going to come back in. We're still here. We're still queer. We're still doing this shit. Like, so we're like, yes. All right, so we go back to the car. We put her bag in. And as we're walking back, I can't keep it together. I'm crying. I'm just crying and crying. And I can be an emotional dude, but I'm not. I like to think that I can, like, especially in a public place, I'm very like protective of my feelings and stuff. And I just can't stop crying. And it was like a combination from seeing of all these people going inside, like passing me to go into the event, because they had a lot of people there. There was a lot of people showing up to this small town event. It was very encouraging considering the stuff that was going on. So I was happy to see these people there in support, but then it reminded me that like it's easy to like, for me to say, to see mean comments on my content and say whatever, but to see it be so many more people than me in person. I don't know. When you live in a tiny town, I'm like the only trans person that I like know and hang out with. So it's like, but yeah. So when you're the only person like that, and then you see all these other people that are also feeling the same thing, it like hurts more. Me is one thing, but like you fuck with my boys, like that's different. And then seeing, or my girls or my homies or anybody, like that's different for me. And so I guess I was just feeling all of their emotions at once, and then this sign of the opposite emotion, and I was just like up to here, up in my throat, just like I was trying to just swallow. And me and Kayla are in the car, and so I cried out for a second, and I'm like, okay, all right, we're good. I'm taking a deep breath. I'm going to try to go back in here. I'm going to try and go and like tell, just show up, support, donate, whatever. So we're like, we're going back in. And I'm like, we're going back in. And Kayla's like, you sure? Like, positive, checking with me. I'm like, no, we're doing it. So we walk past.
Love her.
She's so, yeah, she was so helpful. She's so supportive of whatever I wanted to do. And we drove a long way to go there. So it was just, we were,
right.
We were like, okay, we're going to go in. So she held my hand. I didn't look at him, and I held it together all the way past them. And then once I got to that stupid, like, the metal detector is when I started crying in front of the cops. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't, I would rather the cops see this, see me, this big, like, so a lot of times around here I pass there's not a lot of,
yeah, bro. Fucking
so,
look at you.
And I'm just like crying. I'm just like, you could tell I've been crying and am crying. I'm wearing my Toke&Trans merch shirt, but I'm sitting there like, so, and my eyes are like, not only because I'm stoned, but because I'm also like just cried my eyes out. So I'm like, I hope they just think I'm really high or whatever. But they saw the tears. They knew what was going on. So I walked through, and it was a packed space. The space that they thought was going to cover the amount of people coming was not even near enough. There were so many people showing up and representing. There were tables out there, hella trans tables, like with support information on there and all these different kinds of like resources. And I was like, yes, this is what I wanted to see, like coming in here. And the whole time, my throat, like my Adam's apple is just like in the back of my neck. And like in my mouth, it feels like, because I'm trying not to cry. And we ended up looking inside, and there was no seating. There was no seating anywhere. And it was standing only. And we realized that if we go inside, we were going to be kind of standing in front of somebody else who did have seating. So, and the way that I was emotionally feeling, after we came in and we saw a couple of people, we were only there for like literally 3 minutes on total to see my friend Alex, give him a hug, and walk around and pretty much take off. And in that meantime, Kayla got a compliment on her shirt. Someone complimented my shirt and was like being friendly to us. I mean, we were there in such a short amount of time, and to see all these like positive people, it's like, it's so hard to find these people outside in your day-to-day lives. And it's like everybody gets together and you're like, fuck yeah, like that is so awesome. It was really nice to see.
That's awesome, dude. So you said that like the room was packed. What was like, was there more people there in support than there were protesters?
Protesters didn't come inside. So
no, I know that.
I see what you're saying.
But like, as far as like how many there were,
I think it was 150, 200 people. There was a lot of people there that showed up. Like all kinds of all different like walks of life. I walked past the news lady. I meant to watch the news because I probably walked right past their interview. They look real live, but they were interviewing the presidential candidate that was there. I can't remember. It starts with an M. I'll link it down below. But there was a female presidential candidate there talking about things. So, there was a lot of representation and support once you got inside the building and you were able to see how many people really were there. And it was a drag show / kind of speaking event about what's going on in the community and what's going on in society right now for trans people. So, it was nice. I'm glad. I'm so glad that I went inside, because I was really worried about, missing the whole event just because I got, some sign made me feel that way. I was like, that's not going to, like, that's their whole goal. And I'm not going to let that happen. I don't care if I'm hysterical. We're walking in this bitch and it doesn't matter. Like, that's what I have to do, because, and it was a whole thing. As an influencer and as someone who talks about this stuff all the time and has hard conversations with like really mean people sometimes verbally and on the internet and other ways, like I was surprised for that sign to affect me the way it did. And I think it was because of like the connection I feel to like children and protecting children and kids. And then for them to like look me dead in the eye and think this other thing. And then I'm also one of those when I'm outraged, I cry.
Me too.
I get to a certain point and I start crying, like I'm going to need to exit the room or someone's getting hit. Like, so So once my tears were like a little bit of extra everything, I was like, I felt like we came, we had fun, we got to, say hi to a few people. We're going to go ahead and head home. So we didn't
Yeah.
end up staying too long, but just seeing the amount of people that were there. And I'll be honest, part of the reason I didn't even stay even to like mingle more outside was because of the confined space. It made me scared. I was scared. There was so many people in one area in one time, and it's like it was a big building, and there's one tiny little entrance, and it's just something that I think of and consider, like with me and my wife, like, and it that yeah. So I definitely was concerned, even for my safety, doing that, and I did see that there was some recent judge that had temporarily paused the rights and the like. There's like a separate legal situation going against the law that they signed into place, saying that it's against our constitutional rights. So that is a little bit of a blip. Yeah, a little blip maybe, that somebody, I think it's actually an LGBT club out of Nashville that's like that started immediately, literally right on it, to get the legal system in the process, because for some reason that's the only way they're going to listen, like
Yeah. And
so
the
fine.
ACLU is on it in every state,
Right. Yeah, people are I mean, we're not just going to be like, okay, sounds good, everybody
Yeah.
died, like that's not how this shit works. We're not going to do this again.
Right.
Like
And this also isn't the first time this has happened. This has happened
exactly.
for several years now, and the ACLU has done a very good job in blocking a lot of situations and reversing a lot of bad bills. So
Yeah,
just because it may be legal now doesn't mean a
sure,
lawsuit or two away. And
sure.
these fucking lawsuits, they take years. So,
Yeah, yeah. But we'll wait that long game, because it deserves to happen, and it deserves to happen for the kids that are too young to vote now, and the trans kids and the LGBTQ kids in any way. That's not it. So I wanted
um,
to make sure and come on here and tell you guys that, about that event and how it happened, and what I experienced there, because regardless of what they're saying, there are trans people that live here. There are lesbian people, gay people, bisexual, there's all kinds of
yeah,
people that live here, all in the community, all fucking awesome people that deserve a little bit of credit for living here, even though we're surrounded by a lot of negative people, especially even when it comes down to like voting and everything. So
yeah,
there are fucking good people here. They're just not talked about as much.
yeah, exactly. I had a couple questions about,
No.
because I've never been to, and I know you weren't there for long.
Mhm.
But so there were definitely more people there for the drag event than there were protesters, right?
Definitely. Yeah. There was like I think it was, I'll have to look to see the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was about 100 150 eyeballing. It was about 150 people. There's a lot of seating and a lot of things inside the building. And the protesters, there was probably 10 to 15 at the most.
Oh wow.
So
Outnumbered AF.
very fucking outnumbered. So I was that was a great sign for sure.
Yeah, awesome.
It did outnumber.
And so you said that there were cops there.
Yes.
Which way were they facing? Like who were they protecting? Were they
Right.
protecting the protesters, or were they
No.
there to protect the drag event?
They were there to protect the drag event. They were running the metal detector situation, like running the
Mm-hmm.
actual security, letting people through security and looking, checking, bags, letting people know to go back to their cars or whatever. They were
Right.
outside, and then inside the event, there was one um female with shorter hair that looked like she might be in the community, um,
Mm-hmm.
a police officer
Mm-hmm.
with a canine that was on the inside um,
Mm-hmm.
of the event, but that was the only cop I saw on the inside of the event, was just
Okay.
that one lady with the dog, which I thought, was kind of nice for them to at least assign an LGBT person of the community. They were wearing like a rainbow flag, and like you could tell they were at least friendly and obviously friendly to the community by being there. So I guess that was helpful, but no, there were no cops protecting the protesters. I think they were worried about a bigger problem than those specific protesters.
Absolutely. Especially, that makes me feel good that they wouldn't even let Kayla bring in her clutch.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
because Kayla, I mean, like, if anybody's going to look like an angel, it's Kayla.
Yeah. I mean, this thing was like the size
in her tiny little clutch with their tiny little hands. Oh.
Yeah, but I guess they couldn't see through it, so they sent her back. So it was like, I can appreciate that they're at least taking it seriously and not just being like, yeah, whatever, we don't give a fuck. So
that's good. And it seemed like they understand that the protesters were in no danger, under no threat of violence. But
I don't think so.
Obviously,
they had those metal
need.
They had the metal gates that went around them,
to separate them.
Yeah, so they physically like can't go past the gate or whatever.
I also think that that's to protect the event goers and not the protesters.
Right. It contained them to a very small area.
Right.
So that kind of was a good move, I think.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they I think just by answering those two questions, we see a lot about who is the problem here.
Right.
And
who really
I know
protected.
Were you right, exactly, who really needs to be protected. And I think it's very obvious that no one's freedom of speech was being interrupted. They obviously were given the right to their protest, and they were, able to do so safely.
Yeah.
No one is saying that you can't say things.
Right.
Everyone knows that we have freedom of speech, and, you can say whatever you want, but we also have other laws that protect us against things like libel. If someone says whatever they want about me, that's not true, and I suffer from it, I can sue you for libel. So freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. And it also doesn't mean that you can dictate the lives of other Americans who have the freedom of liberty and their own pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
You can't then make a law that directly prohibits another American's right to liberty and their pursuit of happiness when it in no way encroaches on your own pursuit of happiness. Yeah. It is absolutely asinine.
I agree.
I'm seeing this constitutional thing keep getting brung up because I'm infringing on your constitutional right of freedom of speech because I'm demanding respect for you to call me by the pronouns that I identify with, when I guarantee you would have used them already if I didn't bring it up beforehand. But I wanted to ask you for yours, and now that's a problem. Right. You could have just said, I'm a man. Okay, I'm assuming you mean that you use he, him. Don't worry. You don't have to tell me that, but you don't have to be a fucking asshole. Jesus.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And it was kind of interesting because when I walked past them and I was like bawling pretty much once we went back in the second time, there was a person like one of the administrators of the event. You could tell they were in charge. Started walking with people past the protesters because they started realizing that it was making people emotionally crack, start crying before I even get to the door. And so this lady was walking up and down and she was like, hey, I just wanted to walk with you past the protesters. Like they're, they can be really, really frustrating or overwhelming. And here's a sticker. And all these, all the protesters were saying, of course, religious crap, making, everybody look bad, trying to make everybody look bad. And the stickers she was handing out said God made you fabulous. With rainbows. And I was like, okay, that's the perfect way to walk people up. Like they definitely adapted quickly. So it was nice to see definitely nice to see people, trying to make it more comfortable for people in general. And yeah, so
Yeah.
we still got a
That's
lot of
another
work to
thing.
do.
That's another thing I just want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all, I have beef with religion, with, structured religion.
Sure.
You you're Christian,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
just to make sure it's not like Catholic or like Presbyterian, any of the
Non-denominational.
right, okay.
Yeah.
And I call it out, and I know that this isn't personal call out.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I know that you don't believe in what I believe in,
Right.
but I think that there's a mutual respect and a mutual, suspicion, and also
Definitely.
a mutual, like, we don't know, we could both be wrong.
Exactly. Both.
Right.
Yeah. That we were talking in the same. It's the same. It's the same thing. Where it's
Right. Whatever
it's like
it is.
the same thing. Yeah.
Right. I feel like we're all. I feel like.
Yeah.
This is a side note, but I feel like exactly, we're all, it's all the same thing, whatever it is. And I think that whatever it is doesn't care that we're all using different languages for it. And
Right.
I think that the rules that we're making up are exactly that, made up. And I think that whatever it is, if it is anything, would know that and probably like it anyway. Like, okay, the Jewish people have a Seder and they, keep kosher, and that's how they honor me, even though I
Right.
never asked to be honored. But that's, I'm flattered.
Right. Yeah.
If it is humanistic or whatever, like, it could be nothing. It could be fucking nothing. We could be doing this for no reason. But the point is to get back on the train tracks, as it were. The people in the protests, for some reason, are always Christian.
Dude, go ahead.
I never see any like Jewish protesters quoting the Old Testament. Like, fucking,
is that not strange or what? And it's fucking pitiful. It makes everyone in the whole. It makes every actual person who like treats people with kindness and love like makes them look like shit. It makes it makes it look like an entire, like every single person associated with that person looks like shit. And it sucks because it's not the way that literally, like, that's not the foundational way that we're supposed to treat people. So it's like you're a walking oxymoron. And it's so frustrating. And no matter what religion you are, like, even like it's hard to freaking watch, and it's hard to watch just such clear opposites.
Right.
Like they're like I said, they're oxymoron. Like you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Hateful. And yeah, it just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And I just want to bring up just 2 points here that I know you would agree with. That first of all, let's just pretend for un momento that I am Christian. I've read the Bible. I had to read the Bible for college, for art and literature class. I compared
big ass book.
I compared Genesis to Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh, if you don't know, is the first example of written language that we have in human history. It's the first thing that we ever found, the earliest example of written down language, and it was in cuneiform, which is on a clay tablet with a little kind of triangular shaped stylus, and you stamp the different shapes in it. And Gilgamesh is an epic story, about a king, Gilgamesh, who he's having trouble being a good king, and then the gods make his bestie Enkidu, who is like, his sole purpose is to like make the king good. And the way that they treat women in the earliest form of written language we have versus the Bible, which came much later. And also the representation of gods that we have before the Bible. Like, if we're acting as if the Bible is like this, like, first, like, we know that it's not the earliest thing ever written. So, like, first of all, on what comparison is it better? Because, like, before there was multiple gods and they were kind of bitchy, and now we have this like omnibenevolent white long-haired Jesus looking. I don't know, does God look like that? Wait, no, that's Jesus. I don't know. Apparently it's the same dude.
Yeah, I think Jesus was Jewish.
He was Jewish. Yeah. And if we're following the Old Testament, which the New Testament came from, you guys stole the book.
Go back, read it. Yeah, that's a big ass book.
Jesus isn't even the guy. Like, he was cool, but he's not like the guy. Jewish people are still waiting for the guy. And so, first of all, okay, it came years after any kind of language about gods happened. Secondly, women were revered in Gilgamesh. Prostitutes were like, a prostitute saved the world in Gilgamesh by fricking going into the woods and taming Enkidu for a goddamn week so that he could calm the hell down, because he became feral and couldn't help Gilgamesh. So Gilgamesh was like, hey, can you like tame him? So she went into the forest for a week, and then at the end of it, he was at her feet. Like, she was sitting up above him, and he was on the floor at her feet.
Right.
And like, it was obviously like a great honor to be worshipped at the feet. But for some reason, women are less than in the Bible.
Right.
I don't understand that, how we went backwards that way. And so, number two, none of like this transphobia, homophobia shit, all of it came from a mistranslation in whatever fucking year was that, 1965?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Because they mistranslated a word that meant pedophile. Arsenoikai. It translates to male, a man who sleeps with a boy.
Right.
Thou shalt not lay with boy as thy lays with a woman.
Right.
It was saying that you shouldn't be a pedophile, not that you shouldn't be gay. Up until 1965, that's what it fucking said. Oh, I can't stand this shit. Like, that's another beef that I have with because all these translations, you guys, it's not saying the same thing.
They're not lining up. And we also have an episode too where we talk about and break down both of these for our own. We have a religious episode where me and Beau talk about what we believe and what I believe, and you guys have to check that out. You have to check that out. You definitely have to check that out. That was one of our first couple episodes right there.
Oh, was it?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah, no. So these people are not representations of the whole of every person in that whole. And it's like trying to stereotype like one person altogether.
Right. So I got off track there, but what I was trying to say was, like, even if we're all pretending that we're all like Christian, you're not correct.
Right.
You're wrong. You're wrong within your own faith. And also, why are you subjecting the entire fucking world to the rules of your goddamn religion that, by the way, you pick and choose what you want to follow from anyway? Because if you were really listening to the Bible and what it said to do, like the actual rules, you wouldn't be wearing the fabrics that you're wearing now, because you couldn't mix fabrics. You wouldn't be eating meat on Sundays or whatever the fuck. You would be eating fish, and like there's all kinds of shit that is actual rules that aren't based on a mistranslation, but those aren't what we're arguing about. It's real, actual people.
And
And
these people coming out and showing up and like spewing hatred at people that have nothing to do. Like when you make no sense yourself. Like you are literally standing there doing the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, and then yelling at people that they're supposed to be doing what you're doing. So
literally.
that's not going to make any sense. And no one, that's not going to
Mhm.
make any sense to anyone. And I'm sure I
Mhm.
wasn't the only LGBT like you Christian that walked past them and was like, you're fucking, you are so frustrating. And I'm like, you know, I don't know you, walk away. I don't
Mhm.
know you. So it's just, foolishness, and it's sad as shit. And it makes,
Foolishness.
it's just not it. It's not it. And I'm so thankful that there was like 200, 150, 200 people compared to the 10,
Yeah.
15 max that wanted to show up. And
Yeah.
I didn't stay for the entire event, but I did see a lot of like media from it, pictures and videos and things and drag shows and the
Oh, you
speakers.
did? Oh, cool.
Yes, yeah,
I
and
had
it looked
I had a couple other questions.
amazing. Yeah.
Um, did you see was there one drag queen? Was there multiple drag
There were
queens?
multiple drag queens.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Did you get to see what they were wearing?
Okay, so yes, they were in full drag. They were in full drag.
Full drag.
And
Like what kind were they dresses? Like could
yes,
you
okay, so there was for one, I think there was like one act of nuns that like were
That's so
dressed
funny.
as nuns.
Yeah, like in the
In
whole get
full,
up.
yeah, and the whole get up, the
So
makeup,
the only
everything.
skin that was showing was their face when they were wearing that.
Correct. For one group. And
Uh-huh.
and then there was a few drag queens that
Mhm.
were in like the regular drag queen dresses that you would imagine, like
Like just like a big beautiful gown.
no, like one of them I even had like, oh, okay, I don't know anything about fashion, so here we go.
Okay.
It was like a swimsuit, a one-piece
Okay.
swimsuit
Yes. Okay. A
with
leotard.
like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then with tights on to make their legs
Yes.
shiny, and
Yes.
then
Mm-hmm.
they had some like shawl situations going
Okay.
on.
Beautiful.
Full face, full
Yes.
hair, high hair,
Love it.
total whole get up. And they all walked in like that. They walked from their cars to the door like that, knowing that this
Ooh.
is like that. And they walked right past those, policemen, checked their bags like
Yes.
everyone else, and walked in. So
We love it. Did you
yes,
see, were there any kids at the event?
I don't remember seeing any, but I was very emotionally
Yeah.
sick.
You left really quickly.
I was really trying to keep it together just to absorb a little bit. But
Mhm.
no, I didn't. I don't know if kids were there.
Was it advertised as like a family event or like a story time or something or for kids or?
Correct. It was. It was advertised as that. So I mean, it was a drag show and story time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. So it was it was the whole thing. It was just a regular whole show. There was like multiple speakers that did like poetry,
Oh,
drag
nice.
show. Well, I mean, there was one person that did like a handstand during their, routine. So
Mhm.
there were, I mean, it was a fun drag show, it looked like, but people were sitting, so that was a little bit different, but
Oh
they
yeah.
still rocked it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, would you have felt, well, let's just say that the room wasn't full and there was room for you to go in and sit.
Mhm.
Would you have felt safe in that room with everyone there, even if Kayla wasn't there?
With the atmosphere and the vibe of the people in the room, I would have been able to go without Kayla. I think it would have been a wonderful, like I would have had just a time, even if I had to go by myself, like I didn't have a support person to go with me.
Mhm.
Um, but I'll be honest, like even if me and my wife were sitting there watching this show, like, and there was no standing rooms, there's even a couple of chairs available, uh I still would be scared. I still would be scared of a bomb situation or any kind of I just I do have I do have trauma of natural disaster in my early childhood. But I've
Right.
never been a victim of gun violence or any kind of violence like that. And but no, I wouldn't have felt safe, but I would have lasted longer. I would have probably tried and stayed as long as I could.
Hmm.
Probably would have saw the first couple, speakers or, acts and things, and then might have had to check, I emotionally probably would have checked out a little bit later. uh,
Hmm.
just because I'm scared, just because I'm
Yeah.
scared. And that's not
It's
going to keep me
scary.
from going, and it's not going to keep me from walking past them, even if I'm crying. But I am scared, and I'm not going to admit that. I'm not going to say that I'm not.
Right. And I mean, it takes a lot to say that you're scared. I'm scared too.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
I'm
not just
scared.
Tennessee. There's a lot of states that this is going on, and then the people are trying to do this crap in, and it's not acceptable, and it's not something that we're going to submit to, and not going to allow happen. Like, I'm still going to be walking down the street. I'm still going to protect the drag queens that are walking down the street, and you know, it's just like when
Yeah.
it was. It feels like it reminds me of like obviously not even close to racism, but it's almost like, like back then, like there were people that believed that racism was correct and right. And that was the way of things.
Yeah. And those people were on the wrong side of history. So here we
Yeah,
are again.
exactly. With
Right.
a lot of people on the wrong side of history again, and not
Right.
even knowing it, not even being, not even, they're not self-aware enough to even consider that they might be wrong in any situation.
It's ridiculous how there's a whole group of people who think that um, oppressing an entire group of people just because you don't understand their existence, that, that these people think that that is the correct side of history. It's delusional at best
It doesn't make any sense. It does.
and willfully malicious at worst, you know?
Yeah.
When I just want, history repeats itself, and especially if you don't learn from it. These
Yeah.
people aren't learning from it.
No.
And, I like to reference the book burning of the Nazis to help with a lot
Right.
of that because
Right.
they didn't learn because they didn't have the books because they were caught on fire.
Because they were burned.
Right. So it's like that this is what happens with knowledge suppression. And this is why you have to look at the people who are trying to suppress the knowledge of the people. And who is that? Who are the people in Florida banning AP African American studies in college courses, banning that course?
Banning you from
Who
learning that.
who are the people that are banning critical race theory in schools? Who are the
Did
people
you say
that are,
college?
yes,
College, adults,
college African studies
full
in
adult.
Florida? Yes, they cannot learn.
That's bullshit. Like what? Like what? That
Fucking DeSantis, I think that is. Is that who that is? DeSantis? Anyway,
it's not. It's
fuck
not what we're
them.
trying to do, and we're not on that side of the history. And we want to make sure to tell you guys our experiences because these are also part of our experiences. And they are suck to talk about, and they suck to have to cover and to say that we're experiencing, but we are experiencing these things, and we have to document that, and I have to let you guys know that we're documenting that. So when you feel that, you're not just the only person feeling that. There's a fuck ton of people that are also feeling that. 2% of the whole fucking world, at least.
I said I wasn't going to get too political with this one, but um, you know, I'm realizing now it's kind of impossible to be queer and not be political right now.
I can
And
see that. I can
I
see that.
just want to invite, those who are writing bills against us that if they would like us to stop being so political, they should keep our fucking names out of their goddamn bills.
Worry about
and then maybe we'll shut up about it.
Real
worry
problem.
about the worry about the real fucking problems.
Actual problems.
Stop using us as a scapegoat. It's not working anymore.
And we won't allow it. So.
And I'm fucking done. And period.
We're not having it. We're not having it, and we're here, and we're going to keep saying that we're here, and we're going to keep showing up. We're going to keep having pride. There was a post even for our own pride in our local area that the pride is still happening, that everything is the same, and
hell yeah.
So good luck with any of that.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, we're still here. We're still doing this shit, but wanted to fill you in.
And you know, Aaron, I'm also still here, but I am currently, as you know, on a social media hiatus.
Yes.
And
necessary.
I've also been pushing back conversations like this. You know, we have a list of like topics to talk about and stuff, and a lot of them are, you know, about being trans now and the things that I'm just like, I can't talk about that this week, Aaron. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
I recently took a step back on social media because I can't, honestly, I cannot keep reading the same things.
Yeah.
Seeing the same hateful rhetoric about us.
Over and over.
I can't keep feeling compelled to comment.
Right.
And getting absolutely overwhelmed by the sheer hatred and willful ignorance, despite the fact that I'm doing all of the intellectual labor. It's affecting me personally and privately. It's affecting how I'm speaking to those that are close to me. It's affecting my ability to sleep at night. It's affecting my general mood throughout the day. And I can't keep doing it. And I was reminded by, you know, like Facebook memories. And I was checking that the other day, and that's when I saw the posts from this time 1 or 2 years ago where there were more, you know, introductions, anti-trans bills then. And I was really every second I had on social media, I was sending these like pre-written emails to all of my Facebook friends, just sending out mass DMs. All I was posting about was like signing petitions and sending these emails and calling these numbers. And
yeah,
right. And I was unfriending people who weren't replying. And it might have been dramatic at the time, but I don't miss anybody that I unfriended over that. And anybody who like really cared about me saw my effort and saw that was important to me and understood that it only took a couple seconds to send an email, and they did it. But I'm realizing I don't have that energy anymore.
Right. And you don't owe it to anyone.
Right. And I don't owe it to anyone, and no trans person does.
No. Yeah.
If you're fucking tired, just fucking rest, man. You don't
sit down.
Turn off the notifications. Fucking uninstall it, honey. It is not worth your peace of mind to keep reading the same stuff. You don't need to, you know, ignorance is bliss. That's a real fucking fact. And when your life and your livelihood and your lifestyle and your freedom and your liberty and your pursuit of happiness are all on the line.
Legally on the line.
That can cause so much stress and so much trauma. Yep. And when it's so random and you're just one scroll away from, I hate trans people and this is why. You don't need to hear that shit. You do not need to.
No.
You do not need to be educated about what's going on. You don't need to know what bills are going on unless it directly affects you in your state. I do not blame you for turning it off and tuning the fuck out. Take care of your goddamn self. And that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm being here for you. I'm putting my mask on before I'm helping others put their mask on. And
Yeah. And you don't have to stay available. You don't have to stay online. You don't have to post these things. Like, simply by just existing right now in America with these laws being put in place, or really all around the world, you're doing enough. You're enough by just existing. And whatever you need to do to make your existence better, your existence more happy, and not letting those people interfere with your happiness like they're trying to do, and not letting those people win, that's how we beat them. That's how we end up being happy on our own anyways. Obviously, they're not happy because they're spending all of their time spreading things, spreading hatred, trying to get in fights, trying to pretty much throw a hissy fit on the internet. And all you have to do is just prioritize yourself. You don't have to worry about that. You don't owe those fights. You don't owe anyone anything.
Yeah. The people who can will.
Yep.
And the people who can't rest.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And you can go back and forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
1 week you got the power, then fucking do it. Go to those protests, baby.
Yep.
But make sure you take care of yourself. Trans joy is so important. We need you happy and we need you here.
Yeah. That's a fact. We need you happy and we need you here. You listening to that. That is it. We love you guys very much. I appreciate you guys catching up and listening to this, just hanging out with us and chilling, smoking and talking and chatting. We got funny episodes. We got episodes that we cry in. We're going to have all the tears, the happy tears, the sad tears. We're going to go through it together, and make sure, you check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.